pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Welcome and thank you for joining us today. Our first order of business is to adopt the agenda.
Moved.
We're gonna change the one item.
Oh, then I will also move it. I don't know what that is.
The last thing on the work session. Number 2.
We're eliminating
this one.
the second work session.
Oh, so moved with the exception that we eliminate work session number 2.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next, we'll take up the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless otherwise noted.
Madam President, I move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay. Motion passes. On the regular agenda, we have a request for appeal from On the Fly. It's an appeal of a staff level decision. So I guess we'll start with staff presentation. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. For the record, Steve Price, ACHD General Counsel. Just by way of background, throughout the project and even before the project, ACHD staff had received concerns from the owners of On the Fly about the impacts to their business resulting from the State Street and Collister project. Throughout the project, ACHD staff did everything to mitigate that impact, which we typically do. We ensured that they had access to their facility throughout the duration of the project. I believe that the factual summaries in the staff report that's been placed on the agenda, and happy to respond. The appellant has 10 minutes to present the appeal, and happy to address any questions resulting from that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Price at this time?
Thank you.
No? All right, then we will hear from On the Fly on your appeal.
Sure.
Sure. Yes. Sure. You just have to state your name and address for the record and present your appeal.
Hi, I'm Mike Zahner, 10294 Prairie Road in Boise. This is my wife.
Lisa Zahner.
Same address.
Okay, thank you.
Side note, we did not realize this was an appeal of a decision that's already been made. So we thought we were just presenting for the first time, a little confusing, but anyway, thanks for the opportunity to speak today. As you can see by the financials we've submitted, and I'm assuming you've all seen those, the project at Collister and State has cost our store $1,150,000 in revenue at the end of September. This number has of course grown since then. In October, we showed a loss of another $100,000, and that equates to $10,000 of net income. Just November's not looking any better, just so you know, so far. We've submitted tax returns which clearly prove a loss of no less than $100,000 of personal income during this construction. Because of this, we've been forced to borrow against our home, as well as from family members, and max out every avenue of credit we have access to. Along with our new debt and interest payments, we've lost equity in our home. The store has lost value. Our credit has been negatively impacted. Also during construction, we were forced to terminate our manager, forego needed repairs, pay a portion of the store's mortgage out of our own pocket, just to keep our doors open. We feel we are asking for a modest amount considering the fact that it may take months, if not years, to build the store back to its previous revenue. We know this firsthand because we endured construction in front of our store at 16th and State in 2018, which of course we lost money there that year as well. The store still has not regained to where it was before we began during the construction. It's hard to say exactly how much our total loss will be, but surely it will be well above the $100,000 we're seeking. As Boise natives, we have seen the growth in the valley. We understand the need to improve. However, as taxpayers, we already contribute to development in the way of taxes. We feel it is unfair to ask us to give personal income in the name of growth. We're small business owners. We cannot and should not be expected to endure such a massive personal loss. I'd like to think that Boise would include taking care of business owners when budgeting for large projects, and I truly hope that you understand the impact this project has put us through, and will see fit to compensate us for our losses without the added stress and cost of seeking legal counsel. When considering the situation, I wish you would ask yourselves how exactly you would survive for a year without any income. That's all I have. I do see that your mission is for the people first, and I'm just wondering, do we count? Are we people to you guys? Because we have to be able to survive as well. I know you guys did your best to try to get access to our store. Obviously, you can see by numbers what was done. We're not, people don't go to our store because they have to. It's because it's convenient, and you took away all convenience. So that's all I have for you.
And did you have anything else?
Mr. Price said, like, we had the best that they could offer access to our store. The Collister Drive part going into our store was blocked off for 10 months. Couldn't even get in there. So I don't know. I mean, off State Street, yes, we had some access with the sign, but off Collister, where our neighborhood would come down the hill and buy their milk or beer or cigarettes or whatever they buy, gasoline, they didn't have access. Most of our customers going, we had to go all the way over to Sycamore Drive to even get over here. So, I mean, the access was not
there.
Not good at all. I mean, we're driving across, people with Mercedes and things like that trying to get on our store, driving across dirt and mud and things like that off State Street to get into our driveway. I mean, we were compensated for $2,800 and some change for an easement for our driveway off State Street. Nothing for the Collister intersection driveway that we had at one time. It was blocked off for the entire project, which access was not very good. So.
Okay, are there any questions for these guys? Okay, thank you. Unless you have something else, we'll just go back to Mr. Price.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Mr. Price?
is this appeal done? Should we leave? Are we gonna get an answer later on?
I'm sure we'll take some action, so,
So
yeah.
we're free to go now?
Or you're welcome to stay and listen to the discussion and the
Oh, okay.
action.
Okay, I didn't know if it was over or not.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Mr. Price?
Do you have any specific questions? I'm happy to address that. I mean, a couple of points we can discuss. Ryan, you want to come up and let's go through the slides. But the first point.
Do you have photos that show, aerial photos that show what access was and wasn't available during the construction period? And the construction was how long?
It went from November 2018 to October 2019. We had one delay of 15 days, and that was a utility delay. I believe that picture is before the project. Ryan, you want to take over? You know these better than I.
Yes, Commissioner Ryan Cutler, Project Manager for the State and Collister project. Just wanted to run through some of these pictures that we, as you are aware, when we go through major projects like this, we often take photographs of what's going on so that we, if we need to use them, like in this instance, we have them. So if you're familiar with this area, here's the on-the-fly convenience store that we were discussing here. And the old Collister, as you remember it, coming in at an angle in this area. We went through the project and had a time-lapse video done that took pictures through each month of the project and the progress that we were doing. And as I'll indicate on these pictures here, it'll show the access that was available during that time frame, so you can see what we're discussing here. As is customary with all of our projects, we work with the property owners to do the best that we can to make sure that there's sufficient access to their property. We cannot cut off access to somebody's business. There may be times where access isn't ideal. Yes, there may be times where you're going across dirt or something to that effect, but we try our best during construction to maintain access and to work with those business owners. So as you'll see indicated here at the top of the picture, here's the date of when this picture was taken. This was in December, so just after the project had started. You'll note here that I've shown with some yellow arrows the available accesses to the location that we're talking about. So this is the on the Fly gas station here. There is the access here that comes off of State Street and the access that comes off of Collister. Now, the owner of the store is correct that during a majority of the project there is a access that comes to their store that is in this area that I'm indicating with the arrow that we did have blocked off, but the access point just to the north of it was always open, and that allows people to make it through into the gas station. So there was sufficient access off of Collister and off of State Street. I'll run through these quickly. Here's January. You can see based on the arrows that those same access points are open. February, very similarly. March, as we kind of go through the project here. Here we are in April, same access point open. Into May. The one difference you're going to see here in August is this is when we poured the concrete road in front of the gas station. During that process, both of the accesses off of Collister were open, and we did leave an opening here indicated in this yellow circle that was not concrete, that would allow vehicles to go in and out, and that was a 25-foot access, so cars could go either direction while we let the other part of it cure. After that part cured, we filled this part of it in with concrete and then let the cars go on the concrete that had already been cured. So there was always access there off of State Street. And then October 28th, as we were getting ready, we were basically wrapped up at that point in time. All the access points there were open. And then this is just a picture that we have of the final product that shows that all the access points are currently open. And then finally at the end here, oops, they're not at the end of that, they're just they're on the paper. We do have pictures if you need them, a paper copy of the signage that we did have up indicating that the property access was open, specific to on the fly, signs that said on the fly with access arrows pointing to where people could get into the service station.
Okay, so there was at least one access point off of Collister that was open throughout the construction, and it looks like 3 from State Street?
Correct. So this, as the owners indicated, when you come off of Collister, there were 2 areas that you could get into the convenience store. One was kind of right at the light where you could kind of free turn into the left into the gas station, which was blocked off for a majority of the project as we were working at the intersection. But just to the north of that, as I'm circling here, this access point that leads directly into the gas station as well was always open during construction. And then the other ones with the yellow arrows off of State Street were open during construction.
Okay, thank you. Are there further questions?
I just have one question. I didn't quite catch it. They mentioned $2,800. Could you tell me what that was that they had received?
Madam President, Commissioner May, I believe that was for some area in this area. Yeah.
Sorry, Commissioner May, I can answer that question. So what they received there was for our temporary construction easements. Whenever we have an access point that comes into a residence or a business, and we need to pave back into that business to make sure we're matching into their parking lot, we will do a temporary construction easement to make sure that we're doing the work on property that we're allowed to do it on, and we pay the property owner for that as a rental of that space while we're doing that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? No?
No, I would just ask Mr. Price to explain the law that that upon which we're basing this staff decision, that there isn't compensation for impacts to business construction.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioner Hanson. The law was established in 1963 with a case called Hatfield versus the state. And it's a law that we've applied to in whenever we get a request for compensation from adjacent property owners, business owners, to our projects. It's most certainly sympathetic to property owners as part of our construction projects. Most certainly we do everything in terms of what we can as part of the construction project to mitigate the damages. In this case, we have a business coordinator who went out there, had different programs on State Street to encourage business to utilize those. But in terms of the law, that case, just kind of in point, says that the inconvenience and damage which a property owner suffers from these temporary obstructions are incident to city life. It must be endured. The law gives him no right to relief, recognizing that he recoups his damage and benefit which he shares with the general public and the ultimate improvement which is being made. And so any impacts to adjacent property owner by black letter law, and that's still good law, is non-compensable. That's the same is true for federal projects, which this was. And so that's what the state of the law is.
Okay, further questions? No? Okay, so then we just need a motion to either uphold the staff decision or to modify the staff decision. Is that what we need to do?
Or deny the appeal request.
Okay. Okay, commissioners, what would you like to do with this?
Well, Madam President, I think we're all sympathetic to the Zainers' predicament here. However, based on the law that Mr. Price indicated, I think it was Hatfield versus the state of Idaho, is that what you said?
Yes.
And the fact that multiple accesses were provided, and we did provide signage indicating the station was opened, and we worked with all of the businesses on State Street in order to mitigate the impacts as much as possible. I would move that the appeal be denied.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing, go ahead.
Madam President, I don't disagree with the motion. It's a question of law, not so much a question of fact. What breaks my heart, because I did not support this project, is the fact that there will be future construction, probably significant construction at this site, because it's designated as a transit-oriented development site that will have a transit station and transit lanes that will need to be constructed in that area. So we anticipate that there will be some additional impacts. And that's unfortunate, because I was hoping that these could have been aligned, and I've been saying this for a number of years, to minimize the cost of the taxpayer and the disruption to the businesses.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passes. All right, that takes us to our public communications, and it looks like we have somebody that wanted to talk about bike plans, or
No, that's work session.
is there anyone that would like to address the commission today? Seeing no volunteers, meeting adjourned.